This is a 5-foot diorama that Steve Jobs gave me to commemorate on the first anniversary at Apple, our working together. It starts with a letter from the chairman of the board of PepsiCo announcing that I was leaving to go to Apple, and then just above it is an article in the Wall Street Journal saying that John Sculley was leaving as CEO of Pepsi to become the CEO of Apple. Steve Jobs used to love to draw on a whiteboard, and this shows a sketch he actually made where he said that the future was about Apple versus IBM, and that everybody else represented by those other lines was just the noise. However, on October 19th, 1983, Business Week had a cover story that said personal computers, and the winner is IBM. Well, we were really devastated because we hadn't even introduced the Macintosh yet. We were still several months away. So we sat around with the Chiat Day team, Lee Clow and Steve Hayden, and said, what are we going to do? And then we came up with this idea that since the Mac was going to be introduced on January 24th, 1984 at our annual shareholders meeting in De Anza Auditorium in Cupertino, that we had to do something that would really get people's attention. We decided to make a special 60-second commercial for the Super Bowl. And you can see the original 35mm film of what became the famous 1984 commercial of a athletic woman running down an aisle with an auditorium filled with men in pajama suits who looked like they had lobotomies, staring up at a screen that was speaking in InfoSpeak and was meant to represent IBM. In January, we did introduce the first Macintosh. It was the first commercial computer with a mouse pointing device, and you can see the little cuddly Mac in the background. We actually ran an ad that showed the take a test drive with a Mac, and we took over the entire issue, every single ad of Newsweek magazine, because no one had ever seen a product like this before. So we had to try to tell the story of what a Mac was. At the same time that Steve was building the Macintosh, I focused on the Apple II, the only source of cash flow, and would be for the next 3 years at Apple. If the Apple II failed and went out of business, then Apple would fail and go out of business. So I started with rebuilding the dealer sales channel, working with our team to build sales and marketing. We repackaged an Apple II into what we call the Apple IIe, focusing on the CP/M operating system, as Apple DOS was pretty aged at that point. And we developed the first Snow White design. Snow White was Steve's idea that Apple products in the future should be white, and this was the first one, the Apple IIc. At the top of the diorama is a glass that's been embossed with the words, year one, first half, we change, second half, we change the world. So this was a commemorative piece that I had in my office at Apple for the whole 10 years that I was there as CEO. And it is in my office here in my home office in Palm Beach, Florida, where I live with my wife, Diane.